All right. Good morning, and thanks for joining us for the MLS RPR Realist session here. I'm going to introduce you to very quickly the basics of MLS and the integrations that are vital tools in your business with RPR and Realist. I went to cincymls.net and signed in from there. It requires your MLS ID and your password. If you're brand new, you should be given those after you have paid everything with the board. So to get MLS access, you should have a prorated amount for the MLS that you'll have to get. And I only mention that because I know we have a couple of new agents that are going to be on or see this video. All right. First thing you should really do in the MLS once you get your login and you're logged in, and for the other agents that haven't really done this yet, is to modify your profile. Your profile is what goes out to the consumer and to other agents that pull up your name. So you kind of want to have a really quick bio. Doesn't have to be very lengthy. In fact, there's a maximum number of characters here. Just your elevator speech, even nice headshot, and make sure all of your office information is available down here. Now, as far as your address and your home phone number, that's not going to be visible to the public or even other agents. That's only visible to MLS, but they need to know that they have your information correct. Okay. So you do want to go in, get your profile in there. You can view it, see how the consumer sees it, like that. Okay. Usually if you have an active listing, there's a link down here that says view my listings. If everything's pending or sold, it usually does not link up. If you need the information on the last page of the contract, the purchase contract, it will ask for your broker's information, your information. That can all be found through here. In fact, if I go ahead and click on Remax Preferred Group here, it's going to bring up the broker license that I need to fill in there, as well as Krista's name and her email address. And that's required on that page 8 as well. Okay, so that's where you're finding that information for the purchase contract on the last page. If I go back to the home button here, all of your dashboard widgets are customizable. You can move these around, you can close them out, delete them. So if you've never really played around with this and you're kind of frustrated when you sign on to MLS and see a block that you really have no interest in seeing, you can delete it. You can move it around here by grabbing the little 4 arrows and putting in whatever order you want. Okay. Another important basic aspect of MLS is through the links across the top menu here, and you want to click on links and documents. One of the most valuable tools here for any agent would be the printable forms, and you can have printable or interactive forms where you can fill them in on the screen, but this is for like the MLS changes to the price or to the expiration date or any other MLS change on the contract that needs to be recorded. There is a new member orientation that you can go through here. It has some basics to getting started in the MLS. And more importantly, though, are the MLS SIC areas and suburbs. These are maps and that you can actually pull up. So if you're not really familiar with those yet, you want to go ahead and pull those up. You can see your areas and your SIC codes. They're PDFs that you can download. I know these by heart. I'm sure if you've been doing this long enough, you do too. So it's almost like a spelling test. But those are accessible through that links and documents tab up here for your use. There's also shortcuts to all the auditor sites. So if you don't know the auditor's site so that you need to pull up information on a property, that's available through here too. Okay. Other than that, I want to kind of cover a basic client portal. If you have a client that comes to you and says, I'm looking for houses in the Mason School District up to 400,000. Maybe they're not picky on number of bedrooms right now. They really want to see what they can get for 400 and work with that. So let's go ahead and set up a search for that. Very basically, I want to go ahead and click on search. And standard or school district. I'm going to go with standard. There's a little bit more fields you can choose from. Remember that, it's humans that are putting these listings into MLS across every brokerage that is a member. And there are going to be some fields that some agents leave out and some agents fill in. So you kind of do want to keep your search as broad as you can to pick up more. Okay. If you're very specific, you're likely to miss out on a property that maybe was entered incorrectly, or they entered it in a different field than you thought you would search for. So be sure to kind of be a little vague. You'd rather have too much and be able to weed through than not have enough and miss out on the property. So I'm going to run in here and I'm going to jump on residential. They want single family because they said they want a house in Mason. And then I'm going to put in the school district here. And once you start typing, it should populate out anything that starts with that. There's only one Mason, so Mason City School District. I want everything active, even under construction, because maybe the buyer said, just show me what we've got, and coming soon. I'm not worried about the pending or other statuses right now. They did say up to 400,000, so I'm going to type in 400. And they didn't give me a bedroom range because they want to see what they can get for 400. With that being said and being vague there, I can click on the little tab up here on the left that says preview count. When you do that, it's not going to take you away from your screen, but it's giving you an idea of how many results you have right now. And there's only 8. That's definitely something to work with very easily. So I'm going to click on view results. This is going to pull up the MLS listings that have matched that criteria. As you can see, they're ranging anywhere from 165,000 all the way up to 399.9. So, and I've got anywhere from 2 bedrooms up into 4 bedrooms. Now, maybe you know that your buyer really does want a 3 or 4 bedroom, but I would go ahead and send them all here because they need to be able to see what they've got on the market. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and select all. And by selecting all, I check the upmost box up here on the left. And then I want to go ahead and create a portal for this client. I don't want to send them just a one-time group of listings. I want to be able to have an interactive platform, which is a client portal that I can set up and they can communicate with me through. Okay. A lot of times people have gone in through the contacts and set up this client portal, but generally you're going to get a request for a search first, and I would run it this way, but you can do it both ways. Okay. And I'll show you that other way in just a quick second, but let's get through this step here. So I've selected all the listings and I'm going to go ahead and click on prospecting. When I click on prospecting, I want to save it as a new prospect. And I'm going to call this, maybe her name is Ann Brown. So we're going to say Ann Brown. Hit save. This is going to open up that contact card. So like I said, whether you started from the search position or you want to create the contact first and then create a search, it's going to bring you here to the same page. So I've got Ann Brown in there. She's an active buyer. I want her name to appear on the reports. I don't need a company name or street address. Again, this isn't my database. This is just to set up the client portal. This display as, this is saying, how do you want her name to show up on her screen? I always flip it back around to first name last. I'm sorry, first name, then last name. Now groups. MLS has a predetermined set of groups. If you click on the little inquiry button here, it's going to show you what they are. Last imported, prospects, clients, vendors, personal, and other. I just put everybody under clients, and you don't have to pull that up to do that. You can go ahead and just start typing in the word and it will match it up. So I'm going to put her under clients. This is where I'm going to need to enter her email. So I'm going to enter an email I have that I can use for that. If you have an additional, maybe it's husband, wife, and they want their email entered here, you can do that as well. Any phone number that you want to put in, even though we're keeping this kind of vague, it's not our database that we're going to manage. If you want to put phone numbers in here so you have it quickly to access, absolutely put a phone number in there. The initial contact date, again, the date's recorded on the searches, so you already have the date that you're entering the search, but maybe you want to go ahead and keep it in here that you've been speaking with her since today. Any other notes? I'm just going to put Mason schools up to 400, and that's just for my notes. So I have this when I refer back to it later on. I do want to put her in auto prospecting. Auto prospecting is where properties get entered in and they get notified right away. Even though we're setting up a portal, when the properties pop up in MLS and are put into the portal, unless she were to jump on and check her portal, she's not going to know that there's something new there. So you do want to create that auto prospecting scheduler. Once I clicked on auto prospecting as to say yes, it popped up the scheduler. By default, it is daily. This is how a lot of buyers are missing out on listings. They're not getting this notification until 3 p.m. in the day, and then they're calling their agent and the properties are already pending, or the showings are already booked for the next 2 days. So you want to jump on here and change this to immediately. So they're immediately getting notified as soon as those listings hit their portal. Okay, and we just need to save that. All right, come on. Yes. So we've saved that, and then we want to, I don't want to email to me, so I don't need that. I'm going to see the portal as well. I do want to email to the prospect and anything that's a price change or a status change, but nothing on anything they've rejected. If I had a CC email, maybe that's spouse, I want to make sure that's changed to yes. And then I'm going to go ahead and click on here. If I needed to ever change this, and it did not save my change, so we'll change it now. If you click on that little pencil there, and we want to save this to immediately, I need to move my menu bar. That's what I need to do. Immediately, and then click on the save button. So again, if you miss that in the first step, by clicking auto prospecting, you can change it with the little pencil here. Then we want to be sure on the very next line to click client portal. And under that, it's going to ask you, what listings do you want displayed in the client portal? I would remove anything under sold on below. This way, they're not going to have every expired listing. They're not going to have every sold listing or withdrawn listing is showing up in their portal. They're only going to have the active, coming soon, under construction, and then of course when it goes pending. Okay, because they're not going to really know how to clean up their cart, and you don't want to have to teach them. It should be something user friendly. So if you set these parameters up ahead of time, it'll be smooth sailing for them. Reverse prospecting down here. This is an excellent tool to use on the listing side. It's kind of an annoyance on the buyer side. So I uncheck reverse prospecting, and I'm going to show you why that later on in this class. So uncheck the prospecting when you're creating a client portal for a buyer. Here's where the searches are going to be saved. Since I had already run that search and it's got that saved, it's labeled it in here itself for me, and I can always revise the criteria here. But portals also come with the ability for the buyers to create their own search, and you'll be able to see what searches they've created and they're running down here, which can be very helpful if suddenly they're sending you homes that they want to see that you're going, where did they find this at? They could very well have created their own search in the MLS, maybe for 1.5 bath versus 2 full baths, and they're pulling up properties that they had told you in the beginning they may not be interested in. So you can certainly see their criteria here and what searches they're running. Very last section down here says send client portal activities to agent. You want to go ahead and click that box there and then change your frequency to daily. Earlier, when I mentioned that I would see the portal as well, it's because, I'm sorry, did you have a question? No, okay. Changes to once a day. So that way, at the end of the day, I'm getting a notification from MLS that my buyer has jumped on their portal, and they will tell me whether they've saved some properties, removed some properties, or created a search. So I do change that to once a day there. Scrolling back up here, I'm going to hit the save button. This is going to create a pop-up window saying that there's those 8 listings that we already found, because we ran this from the search first, and we want to go ahead and add it to the prospect cart. It's going to create a pop-up window of the client portal invitation. This is the email that's going to get sent to your client that says that this portal's been created for them. It has an interactive link right here to the portal and all the listings that we've just come up with. You can customize this note to them with anything else that you'd want. So you could start up here at the beginning and say, Ann, homes in Mason to review. So you can customize all of that text there. You can send a copy of it to yourself. You can ask for a receipt when it's been read, and then you go ahead and hit send now on the bottom right. So that's created a client portal that your client's going to be able to view listings that automatically get entered into the MLS. You have the ability to go in there and see what they're thinking about those properties, whether they move them to saved or to rejected, and we can view that portal here as well. Once I'm back in the MLS screen, if I go ahead and click on client portal, which now shows up on this blue menu, I can preview it. This is what your client's going to see. When they get that email and they click on that link that says view listings, it's going to bring them right here to the MLS portal that we've created. They've got newly matched, agent recommended, saved, and rejected. They're able to see everything on the MLS that the consumer can see. They can see all the photos by clicking on the photo. They can see a map. They can also post comments, and those comments are emailed to you so that you can see that they've made a comment. Maybe they want to say, is the square footage including the basement? So any note that they want to put on there. But this is just a shortcut to the full MLS listing that they can see on the consumer side. Okay, so that's what it looks like from here from the client's view. I'll X out of that. Here in the prospect cart on the MLS for yourself, you're going to see the same tabs: newly matched, agent recommended, saved, client rejected or agent rejected, And if there was any comments, there would be a flag here that there was a comment for you, as well as the email notice that you would get. Okay. Maybe they come to you now and say, well, there's a property I really like, you know, we want to write an offer on it. Let's go ahead and say that they want the Thornberry Court one. Okay, let's pull up that listing. I clicked on the MLS number. It's going to give me all of the MLS information, all the pictures, the other agent. I'm going to take a quick look at the agent remarks. It tells me it's a relocation docs are required to be filled out with the offer. The name on the contract should read one source as the seller, and all offers need to be in by 6 p.m. on Sunday. Okay, so that's important because now you know your deadlines and your parameters. But more importantly, let's go down here and just some quick views. We want to see if it's in an HOA, maybe see anything that we didn't see when we were viewing the property. Nothing's really jumping out at me. All right. So they're saying, well, Lee, I'd really like to know what you think this property is worth. It's listed at $399. What do you think? I'm going to go in here to my MLS. I'm going to pull up this property. And the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this RPR button on the left-hand side. RPR stands for Real Property Resources. And in the follow-up email that I send all of you with the link to the recording, I'm going to send you a link to the Rpr Startup Guides, because they do have some guides that you can use on learning their system, more so than what I'm going to cover right here. So I'm going to click on the RPR. This takes you into a new window. If you've never signed on here before, it's linked from your MLS, so it should use that login as the same information. So you may have to re-enter it if you hadn't done that previously. Here is the RPR. It's branded, of course, to the brokerage. It's going to have several different tabs across the top, which are also shortcuts down below. But this is going to have all of the feed from MLS. This is not a Zillow platform. This is MLS. Real Property Resources pulls from the MLS as well as the tax database. It's going to give you an RVM. This RVM is like an estimate, but again, this is more real time. This is coming from MLS data of sales. It does include some expired and canceled listings, so those would be hanging out there. But you have the ability to pull some values, maybe that they didn't have in here that you think would be better. So you can refine the value. You can create a CMA. More on the RVM, it's going to show you here what the change is. This market is crazy right now. It's telling you that it's, you know, the RVM is 379, but it could fall into a range of 350 to 406. Here's the confidence rating of how sure that price estimate is based on the data they're using. As far as the monthly change, so just in the last month, the RVM shot up $4,000. There were probably a couple sales on that street that really went over list price, and it's brought it up $4,000. In just the year alone, it's increased 8.2%. So this is some very tangible data that you can have on hand to show your clients that really will help them make an informed decision. As you scroll on down here, it's going to get into property facts. When it has a column here of your changes, this is where you could be using it maybe if you're trying to price for a listing, or if you know that the data that is in here is just a little bit off. Maybe they have a half bathroom in the basement that is not showing up through the tax database, or maybe even in the MLS. There are some, you know, quote unquote half bathrooms that as agents, we don't put it in there. If there's not a sink nearby, it shouldn't be counted as a half bath. But you can make adjustments here just as if you were almost putting an appraised value on the property. This is a market value that we're looking for. It does have the historical records over on the right-hand side. So anytime it was previously listed will be recorded and showed for you there. This is also a great tool in narrowing down the schools. When you're in a big school district that has more than one elementary school, by pulling up the RPR, it will tell you exactly which elementary school it has. This is going to be Mason Intermediate Elementary School. I think there's Western Row is an elementary school, or Mason as well, or that might be Kings. But some school districts have more than one elementary or more than one high school, such as Lakota East and West. So if you need to know what school the property falls under, you can find it under the RPR link. You'll have the price change history if there was any. Then it has the AARP Livability Index for this zip code. This score, if you want to view it, is on the AARP website. It just really kind of puts in some metrics for housing and affordability, access to work, life, and play, and it gives it a combined score out of 100. Room details or how the room sizes feed through, same as here. On the right-hand side, as we're scrolling through here, this is going to be giving you your neighborhood overview on some prices, what the average price is in that zip code, the average price in the county, and then what the state average price is right now. Here's the changes that are happening. In Warren County alone, there's been a 12.8% change. In the state of Ohio, prices are changing at about 8.4. Here's the medium list prices that are going through, as well as the public sale price, which should be pretty close together, but it's a difference of about $5,000. Medium listing prices and the changes in that. So as well as you're getting the details on the left, you're getting a lot of cumulative details on the right-hand side. You'll also have all of the tax records down here below, and the deed recordings and the mortgage recordings of the property. This information is also available, you'll remember, in Realist, where you can pull that up too, but I'm going to show you some other things to do in Realist. But with the RPR, if I want to go ahead and create a report to kind of send my clients so they have an idea of what data is available, I'm going to click on Reports up here at the top. And I want to create a, let's see, we're going to say, let's go with a neighborhood report. Maybe they want to get an idea of what the prices are in the neighborhood. They know what they want to pay for the house, but they'd like to see what the price is in the neighborhood. It's going to ask me for the address again. I'm sorry, no, it's got the zip code. Perfect. So it's already got the zip code in there. Neighborhood report. I want to go ahead and put her name on there. So I'm going to say Amy Brown. And I want to get it as a PDF so that I can have it downloaded and I can take a look at it first. So I'm going to click on display now, and then I want to go ahead and hit run report. That's going to take a few minutes to run. So we're going to come back to that. It will actually send me a notification. It's a very loud doorbell sign or sound that will come up when this report's ready. So while that's generating, I'm going to go back to my MLS listing here. And I'm going to scroll down a little further on the right-hand side, and I'm going to see that tax ID number. This is the partial ID that the auditor has recorded for the property. When I click on that, it's going to take me into Realist. If you're brand new to real estate, Realist is going to look like this for you. If you've been in this business for a while, this has certainly evolved from what it used to be. So it's certainly a little cumbersome to get around sometimes. But with that being said, you can launch Realist up here by taking you into the full program by clicking on the link. But throughout here, it's going to have all of the tax data information on the house. One important thing to keep in mind is that flood zone code. It should be on the property disclosure. Maybe a seller intermittently left it off, or maybe they don't even know they're in a flood zone. I've had sellers say that too. How they get by that, I'm not sure, but you can always look up the flood zone code and panel on the FEMA site. All right, it'll have a direct link to the auditor by clicking on the tax ID number again. So that will take me out to the auditor's site. If I click on that, it takes me directly into Warren County and directly into the property. It's a very quick shortcut there. I'm going to hit the back button so I can go back into Realist. Here's where it's going to have the assessments on the property, as well as the information that's feeding through. If you notice right here under total baths, it says tax 3, MLS 4. So the auditor only has 3 recorded bathrooms in this house. It could be 2 full and 1 half. As you can see below here, it does. But the MLS is saying that there's 4 bedrooms with 2 half baths. So they added a half bath, probably in the basement, that hasn't been recorded in the auditor's site yet, but it is on the MLS. So anytime there's a discrepancy here, you're going to see that. We'll have your features on here. Then it's going to have your sales score. Now your sales score is what Realist is basing on the probability that this property would be listed to sell. Again, they have it as a very low. Maybe they haven't owned it for that long, and that would indicate a very low likely chance that they're going to sell. However, they are. Then we have another RVA or real AVM value here. They're coming in at 308. Now remember, this property is listed at 399. RPR had it at 379, and Realist is telling us that this is 293 to 324. Why would that be? That's coming from mostly the tax assessment files. Again, this is through the tax database, and these values are based on what the auditor is labeling the property to be. So again, with the confidence score over here, this is based out of 100. They're saying that that's, 73, percent, you could say, confident that that's a real good price for the house. I'm going to say tax assessment for the house. So again, the RPR is a little bit more MLS, data linked, and the realist is a tax database, but it at least gives you a bit of a scale to balance out on, so you can get an idea where you're at as far as what the appraisers are going to come back at, because appraisers use realist very much. Below that, we've got some MLS stats as well, and any recording data that's available in there, and the mortgage history. If this house was ever in a foreclosure, it would also be displayed here in the very next section under the court history. That's not applicable here, so we don't see anything for that property. Okay. Now going back in, our doorbell hasn't rung yet, so let's go on through Realist a little bit more. I want to click on Launch Realist. Maybe I've wrote an offer, got it accepted, this property has sold, and I want to grab some addresses to send some postcards out to, my just sold postcards. How can I do that? When I clicked on Launch Realist, it took me to this property's page in Realist. If I click on the back button right here, the word back, it's going to take me back to the search criteria. It's going to maintain that property I have, but it's going to take me back to the search criteria. If I want to go ahead and just pull up that street name, I'm going to go ahead and type in Thornberry Court here, and I'm going to click on search. No results. That's not very true. So let me take out court. Let's see if that pulls them up. There we go. It's actually pulling up in Amelia, as well as it should pull me up. You know what? I apologize. I forgot my county is multiple counties. On the top of this search bar right here on the left, I want to click on change county, and I only want it to be Warren County, because I know that's where the house is. So I'm going to scroll on down to where I find Warren, Ohio. Okay, perfect. Apply that criteria. And then run my search again. There we go. So this is pulling up everything on Thornberry Court in Warren County, and it's all going to come under that 040 zip code. So I'll get 86 results. That's a good number to send postcards to for just sold. So I'm going to go ahead with that. Now, if you'd like to get some of the nearby streets, because again, everyone on that street probably did see the sign, probably knows that you had it listed and it eventually went pending and sold. So if you want to expand out a little bit by scrolling on my Zoom, I can see what other streets are around there. And then I can pull up those names instead. So maybe I want to jump over here and see what I can find on Lake Springs. Let me type that in here. Oh, yes, you do have results. Come on. Maybe it's one word. Let's try that. There we go. One word, Lake Springs. That's pulling up 36. I'm saying absolutely, I want to send labels to them. On the bottom right-hand side here, you're going to see those 4 words. I'm going to click on the word labels. It's going to ask me which format I want to use. We all use the Avery labels. I usually are the 3 across and 10 down. I wanted to use the property address. I don't want it to go to a tax billing address. Those most likely can go to the mortgage or the escrow company. So use the property address. And I want it to show current homeowner. And I wanted to export all of those. So I'm going to go ahead and create that. And it's exported it out to what is the file over here called a rich text format, which is just compatible with any version of Word that you might have. But it's already got it formatted in the labels here, and I can hit print from here. So I've already created my labels for the neighbors I want to send some postcards to. All right. Click out of that. Let me jump over to reports and see if that's, there it is. It's ready now. I'm going to go ahead and click on down report. I just went back to RPR. So don't think I've left you in Realist. I'm back here in RPR. This is that neighborhood report that I just created so my buyer can get an idea of what's going on in Mason, Ohio. Okay. This is a very, very thorough report. It's got, let's see here. Oops, sorry. 12 pages to go through. It's going to have my housing stats and the charts available for that. It's going to have the pricing versus listing, the number of homes sold and in what price range they sold. Again, price per square foot. I have had buyers ask me to break prices down by square foot, especially when they're looking at older home or a newer home, but not brand new construction, to kind of get an idea on that, especially if they want to maybe make improvements to it later. And all of this, of course, is branded to you in RPR. So this is, again, a lot of solid, tangible information that you can present to your clients that's going to help them make an informed decision, whether they're buying or selling. I could have made this a seller's report too as well. And then it would have additional criteria as well as some comparables on the seller's version. But again, we went with the neighborhood report. And that's a PDF that you can download and email onto your clients. Okay. Any questions on that part of that? All right, I'm going to take silence as no. If you do have a question and you want to put it in the chat, you can do that too as well, and I can catch it there. All right, so that's pulled out that information. I created my neighborhood report, and it does archive your reports, so you can always pull them back up if maybe you need to go back and review some information after you send it to them. Okay, back to Realist here. Again, I've pulled up Lake Springs. That's one of the streets I want to send some zip code or some postcards to. I just zoomed in on the map here to kind of see that. And I was able to pull up that street name and get those addresses pulled. There's Southwater. If I want to go ahead and pull Southwater, I could type that up here. I've got 25 more. So now I'm pushing almost 60 postcards, depending on what your suite number is there. You can just pull it up street by street. And again, I think it is a good idea to pull up the adjoining streets, because everyone on the street that you sold on did see your sign, knows that it was sold. So the adjoining streets are usually a better idea.
Leanne,
yes.
What do the different colored pens signify?
On the black and white, I think it's been sold recently within, I think, the last 3 years.
On the map?
Yeah.
They're different colors.
Yeah, if it's red, it's been sold recently. And if it's orange, it's a pending sale.
Okay, gotcha, thanks.
Mm-hmm. And the only thing that you really need to worry about there, of course, is just make sure you have that disclaimer on any of your print material that says, not intended to be a solicitation if you're currently listed or currently working with an agent. It's a very small disclaimer you can put down in there that just says not intended to be a solicitation if you're currently working with an agent.
Okay.
As well as a lot of us will put like on postcards, they can put the disclaimer, all information believed to be accurate but not guaranteed, especially if it's coming from the MLS. The MLS has that as their own disclaimer. So all information believed to be accurate but not guaranteed. Those are the two top that will really protect you anywhere. Another important one is if you do use a picture, maybe you have the buyer side and you want to send out a postcard, you want to use a picture from MLS, make sure you put somewhere who took the photo. So like photo courtesy of Sipsey Klein, and make sure you reference that the sale was in cooperation with, Sipsey Klein, whatever the brokerage was on that. It's recorded that way on the MLS. It really should be recorded that way on any print material that you do based on the advertising laws with the division. Okay. Any other questions on that? And I can put those disclaimers in that email too, so you just have them to refer back to. Lee, how are you doing? Any input on this? You are muted, so if you're talking, we can't hear you.
I'm good.
You're good. All right, thank you.
I'm more interested in the RPR stuff because I've never used it before.
It's very valuable and very real. I mean, I've had a lot of agents say to me, even after some of these classes, that they've used that and it's pretty spot on. So absolutely.
If you could just remind me real fast, how do you get to the RPR?
It's through the MLS listing. When you're on a particular listing in the MLS, it will have its individual link underneath all the pictures. And it'll say RPR.
Gotcha.
And certainly you can go to, if you notice the website is NAR RPR because it's the National Association of Realtors product. I'm going to send you those links in the follow-up email. Okay. And Leah, I think you'll see the startup guides there, pretty valuable too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, guys, if you don't have any other questions, I know that's a lot I just threw at you, but we went from a search into a client portal, making sure we've got our prospecting. Oh, one more thing I want to add on the client portals. Let me go back over here to MLS. This is also a very valuable tool when you have a seller. And the reason being is with the market activity going so fast, I would set up a portal for your seller of anything in their area. You don't want to get that call from your seller that they just got home from work and they passed a for sale sign, you know, the block over, and they want to know, you know, what's it selling for? How big is it? How does it compare to them? If you have a client portal set up for your seller, you're going to catch all that activity as quickly as it comes on. So that's a quick tip there. When I mentioned earlier too about reverse prospecting being a very powerful tool, in new listings, as well as maybe if you pick up a listing that's from an expired, if you go into your MLS and you want to go ahead and click on contacts, one of the menu items here is reverse prospecting. Anytime you create a search in MLS, anybody creates a search in MLS captures it, and it records that data so that then if you can take your metrics, your property amenities, you can find out every single search that was ran that your house would have landed into the results of. Okay, so if I pull up a listing here, let me let's think of an active listing. I know somebody's got if you have your information, you can pull the MLS number out of here. If you have your own active listings, you can pull them out of here. I'm going to say that maybe I've got a seller I'm meeting with in Norwood. It's a single family home in Norwood, residential. I'm going to put in EO2. I just know that's Norwood's area, and then NW for the SIC code. I'm not going to worry about county, so I'm going to uncheck that, as well as tax district and zip code. I'm not worried about school district because only Norwood is in Norwood. And I want to see what houses are out there around the 200,000 mark. Let's see, a preview count. 1,000. I need to narrow it down a little bit more. So let me scroll down here and see what other criteria I can get in here. Oops, sorry. Let's go ahead and put in the zip code. I'm going to say 45212. And let's see what preview count I get from there. Now it's going to freeze up on me for a second. Oh, come on. All right, let me clear this out here. Let's hit back to my home button. I want to grab an actual listing so I can show you a little bit more how that works. Let me pull up something active. Where are my active listings at? Here we go. Sorry, new listings. All right, 9583, 169, 9583. Reverse prospecting, 169, 9583. Pull that information. It's going to pull it all up. It took it from there. I'm going to go ahead and hit search on that. See what results I get. I got 369 prospects. So that means there were 369 searches ran that this house should have shown up in the results of. That's very impressive when you're trying to secure a listing with a seller that maybe didn't sell before or is interested in selling. This is your little extra in. You can say, well, you know, Mr. Seller, when I get back to the office and I'm getting your listing prepared and put into the MLS, I'm going to run a reverse prospect. And every single person that pops up here, I'm going to be able to reach out to them and say, hey, I've got a property that your buyer might be looking for. So you're able to see what agent ran it, what criteria they were actually looking for by clicking on that code number. You can see that they were looking for residential, single family in CO1, CO3, and E11. They wanted 160,000 or less with 3 bedrooms and more. And that property showed up in there, or should have shown up in there, especially if you got a disgruntled seller that says, look, we didn't get any showings and I don't know why. jump on the reverse prospecting. It essentially is a call list for you. You can start calling these agents and saying, hey, I've got this great little 3-bedroom house in Claremont. If you've got a buyer, can I get you to set up a showing in the next week? Or, hey, I've got an open house coming up. Now, if you notice over here on the right-hand side, it does say that the items that are starred, these agents have opted out from receiving information. That's from the MLS. Granted, it's a little bit of a loophole, but it does not mean that you can't export this report. That's why it runs reports, and take this information and create a mailing list elsewhere to send these agents some information or have their phone numbers to call them. Okay. So you do have the ability to do that. But when you have a disgruntled seller that thinks they don't have agent working for them, and you can give them the tool here that you've got, 369 different, prospects you can reach out to, it speaks volumes. Any questions on that? Okay. All right. Well, that's really everything I wanted to cover in this session. Thank you for putting up with some of the background noise. I appreciate it. Other than that, I'll send you guys a link to this reporting as well as the RPR Startup Guides and just some quick points to remember, like those disclaimers. You have a question, Cole?
No, I was just going to say thank you.
Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you, Leanne.
You're all very welcome. Have a great day, and I'll talk with you guys soon. Okay?
You too.
All right, thank you. Let's see what we can stop here and end.